New York's classic rock, Q1043.
Good morning, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. I am so honored to have you here, even though you tested positive for COVID on two tests, the rapid test and then the other test. And I know you're asymptomatic, so I'm very happy about that. But you cleared your schedule. This is being done by Zoom. We were doing this, the right way. But I was just wondering, why did you get tested at all? Are you tested routinely?
Yeah, I am. Shelley, first of all, it's great to be with you, as
Thank
always. And secondly, I am tested routinely, particularly over the past number of months. I've been increasingly in rooms with lots of people. So I've got a regular pattern of testing. And in fact, I had tested negative twice this week, including as late as last Wednesday. And then I tested positive on Thursday. So I'm taking myself off the field for the 5 days, and God willing, we'll be back at it Tuesday or Wednesday this week.
But you have no symptoms at all?
A little bit of a stuffy nose, but frankly, I might have had that unrelated to this, but otherwise in good form.
Okay, well, good to know. Okay, so here's what I did. I, of course, have a number of questions for you, but I just thought with at least 40% of the Q104.3 listeners in New Jersey, I thought, why not ask my listeners what they want answered from you? So we did the whole texting thing. They Facebooked me, they Instagrammed me. So I am going to let you hear the questions directly from the listeners if there's still time after that. And let's go rapid fire through them because there are a lot of questions. If there's time, then I'll hit you with some of my own. Okay, text question for Governor Murphy. On Sunday, and this is COVID related, is there a timetable for removing the mask requirements on NJT? That question comes from Dan Long in Franklin Lakes.
I'll give quick answers, Shelley. That is not my call. That's a federal mandate. We really have no more state mandates in place, but if you're in a healthcare setting or a train, bus, or plane, the feds still want you to have a mask on. My guess is that this variant, which is now coming through, I'll bet the feds will want to see that pass through over the next month or so, and then relook at that if I had a guess.
By the way, do you know what the ridership is now on NJT compared to what it was pre-pandemic?
It to probably 50 to 60%. It got as low as literally 8 or 10%. So it is definitely getting back. I think there's a big question still. What does the ultimate new normal look like in terms of the workplace? To what extent are you going in Monday through Friday versus a day or two at home? So I'm not smart enough to predict whether NJ Transit ever gets or when it gets back up to 100% to be determined.
Okay, question for Governor Murphy. This one comes from Bob Galella. Please ask Governor Murphy if the suspension of the state gas tax is a possibility.
So to Bob, here's the problem with the state gas tax. Constitutionally, the proceeds are tied to infrastructure projects, which makes it really hard to suspend it. And by the way, if you did suspend it and you restarted the projects, it'd cost a lot more money. So two comments. Number one, I think the feds should do this because
they're considering that. The president said he's considering it.
Yeah, he should. And Shelley, I think he should. The feds can print money. I can't. And they don't have that same constitutional requirement. Second point to Bob's question. Having said that, we are looking at some creative ways to get cash back into people's pockets. So stay tuned.
Wait a minute, like what? Like what?
Well, there's one bill that's been proposed in the legislature, and I'm not opining on that bill in particular, but basically to send people a gas check, a check for X $100, unrelated to the gas tax, just literally put it back in your pocket. Something like that, it has appealed to me. So as I say, watch that space.
What about pumping our own? There's been talk that if we can do that, we can pay 15 cents a gallon less. Are you in favor of the option of pumping our own, and will it cut the price by 15 cents?
I'm not sure it cuts the price by that much. That's one concern. I'm open-minded, but there's a long history of preventing you from pumping your own gas in New Jersey. Listen, I think every option has to be on the table, Shelley, with gas prices at these levels, now aided and abetted by that complete thug, Vladimir Putin. I think everything has to be on the table.
Governor Murphy, I got a slew of questions. I would say the most questions, other than about legal pot, when that's going to happen, but the most questions were about property taxes. Now, I know in your budget message, you came up with a plan to give a $700 property tax rebate to households making up to $250,000, and also a $250 rebate for renters making up to $100,000. First of all, where do we stand in the legislature with your plan? How is that going over?
First, Shelley, you got the plans exactly right, and that the inclusion of renters is historic. That's never been the case before in any property tax relief program. Secondly, I think it's early, but conversations are really good. I'm confident on this one, and these are big numbers. Just take the property, the homeowner example for a second. The average property tax bill in New Jersey is just under $10,000. A $700 reduction or rebate, that's over 7% reduction in property taxes. Now, we've had 4 of the lowest increases on record in our first 4 years, but they're slight increases. This would be a dramatic decrease. And by the way, that program will grow over the next 2 years. And ultimately, that same person can earn up to $1,150 of a rebate. That's 11 or 12% reduction. So these are big steps, and we need it.
But where are we in terms of passing it?
Well, the budget doesn't get passed typically till late June.
Oh, okay.
So the early conversations with legislative leadership are really positive, and I thank them for that.
Okay, Governor Phil Murphy, I have a text. A Facebook message. Actually, you don't have to comment, but just, highlighting how horrible property taxes are for so many in New Jersey. Hi, Shelley, says Linda Doyle. We need property tax relief. I live in Pompton Lakes. I'm in the same house for 59 years. I was brought up in this house. I'm working 2 jobs just to try to save my house. A lot of my friends have moved out of New Jersey due to the high taxes. She does not want to move out of New Jersey. You don't have to comment on that because we already talked about your plan, but I do need your answer to this question that came by text. To lower property taxes for seniors, do what other states do. Don't make seniors pay school tax. Seniors can't afford to live in the state anymore. If they didn't have seniors pay school tax and their property taxes, seniors wouldn't be leaving and could afford to stay, says Jim. Your comment, Governor Murphy.
Now, I want to comment, Shelley, on both. First of all, I have nothing but sympathy for the seniors because 53% of the average property tax bill is for public education. So if you're retired, you own a home, you're on a fixed income, and Johnny and Sally have graduated from high school, you're asking yourself the same question that you're getting toward me. Help me find a way to be able to stay here. That's why these rebate programs are overwhelmingly going to impact positively seniors.
But wait a minute, why don't we do something just for the seniors? Why can't we get rid of the school property taxes if you're a senior? At least if you have seniors who can show how much they make in a year, those who can afford, that's one thing. But for the rest who are on a fixed income, living on Social Security, I think this makes sense. So how do you feel about that?
Well, the rebate is how I feel about it. That's historic. Here's what we can't mess around with. New Jersey is the #1 public education system in America. #1. So when people move to Florida or Georgia or South Carolina, they're not moving for the public schools. They're not moving for education. So we got to make sure we preserve that. New Jersey is the #1 state in America to raise a family. So what I need to do is make sure we deliver as much relief as possible to those seniors, which is the the animating reason behind this huge rebate program. Again, this is historic in the history of New Jersey, and I think it will address the issues that both of those questions raised. One
Okay,
other
so
thing,
you're
Shelley,
not, so you're not in favor of getting rid of school property taxes for
I'd
seniors?
say I'm open-minded, but I can't mess with the fact we have the #1 public education system in America. And that a big reason for that is we fund it unlike any other state in America. One other comment.
Yeah.
I do know seniors who are on fixed income, homeowners, kids have graduated. That's the group that we have to worry the most about keeping in New Jersey. I completely understand that. But it is a myth to say everybody's leaving New Jersey. We have people coming into the state at record numbers right now, largely, in fairness, young couples either starting or looking to start a family. That's our big fat demographic. The seniors are the folks I have unending sympathy with and want to do everything I can to help them. That is the group that's the loosest, if you will. But overall, people are tripping over themselves to live in New Jersey right now.
Okay, Governor Phil Murphy, speaking of schools, I'm sure you have seen this. There are reports of a possible brain cancer cluster at Colonia High School. 60 of those high school grads have suffered from brain cancer, and leading the charge is 89 grad Al Lupiano, whose wife and late sister are among the Colonia High School brain cancer victims. Will you call for an investigation into this possible cancer cluster at Colonia High School?
I absolutely will get to my team. I'm not, I know of it. I'm not deeply read into it. Colonia is a great community, part of the greater Woodbridge reality. It's awful tragedy. I need to speak to my team, but I promise those folks we take this very seriously.
Okay, now you knew this was going to come up. From one of our texters, Pete Torrey and Oradell, what is taking so long with legal weed? It's been 1.5 years since we voters in New Jersey approved legalizing weed. Even Senate President Nicholas Scutari says he's going to hold hearings into the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. What the heck could be taking so long before we could go to a store and buy it?
Shelley, I'm shocked that this would come up in a conversation with you. You and I know each other well enough to know that I know that this would come up. But in all seriousness, I know folks are frustrated. We want to see this happen sooner than later. But I will say this: we are not just in words, in action. We are deeply committed to equity. We are committed to the small scale operator. If all we cared about was the big business in this industry, and by the way, we want them as well, but if we only cared about them, this would be easy. But to make sure you have an industry, unlike any other American state that's done this, that looks and reflects back and looks like the community it serves, that deals with licenses and ownership in a way that in our action drives directly back against the ravages of the war on drugs. Communities of color, especially. That's hard.
When? Just tell me when. When is the target date now?
I think, Shelley, medical dispensaries being allowed to sell retail, a matter of weeks. Standalone retail, my gut tells me a couple of months.
Okay, another pot-related question really quickly, because I'd like to get to one more question. Why won't you allow homegrown medical marijuana plants? And by the way, why can't we grow our own, period?
Yeah, so it's not me on that one. I signed the legislation that came to me. So this was in the bill that we signed. I'm open-minded to that. So,
okay.
But I would need a law to come to my desk to change that. But color me open-minded to that.
Okay, and then there was one other issue that was mentioned several times. All the gambling money made in the state of New Jersey, almost $11 billion generated from sports gambling, brought in $86 million in tax. Where is that money going?
Yeah, it's going to the general accounts of the state. I mean, this is the budget I presented is the strongest budget in the history of the state, and part of it is the proceeds from a lot of the industries that we've started, including sports betting. So it's going to, it's going to the general welfare of the state, to fund public education, to fund property tax rebate programs to fund historic investments in infrastructure, et cetera.
Well, maybe if that gets big enough, you can use that money and then free the seniors from their property taxes that goes to the schools. Just an idea I'm throwing
Okay.
out. We are out of time. Governor Murphy, always a pleasure and really an honor, because after testing positive, you should just be resting, and you kept me on your schedule. Thank you so much. I would like to make this a regular thing, especially since I got so many questions from listeners. I just love that you are here to answer their questions. So thank you so much. Be well. Speedy
My honor,
recovery.
Shelley. I look forward to speaking with you and Jim before Memorial Day weekend kickoff so we can celebrate the
Absolutely.
shore.
Thank you.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.